Hello, welcome to the Villa Talks podcast. Welcome to episode 110. We are, another week, another Villa Talks podcast. Do not adjust your television sets. We are still here and we are going on a regular show every week. And this week, the games are coming thick and fast, as you know. And unlike Unai Emery, we've gone for a bit of rotation this week. So I'm going to introduce to a new member and one old member who wasn't with us last week because he was too busy playing five-a-side football. First off, bring Sam in. Sam, how are you, mate? You do good?
I'm good, mate. It was six-a-side. It's proper.
Six-a-side, proper. Sorry, mate. Yeah. Good to have you back, mate, after last week's stint out of the squad. But yeah, bringing you back in. But also joining this week all the way from Miami. Good mate of mine I've known for about 18 years. It's Mr. Miami villain himself, Alec. How are you, Alec? How you doing, mate?
Good. Up the Villa Owns. Yeah, nice. Thanks for having me on. It was nice to be at the laptop without a packet of ham and a snorkel and micro change. But yeah, thanks. Thanks for the welcome.
Yeah, good to have you on, mate. Alec is, to warn you, Alec is uber positive, and I think that's what we exactly need right now in this pod.
Absolutely.
This week especially. So it's good to have him on. Me and Alec go way back. Our mutual mate Nick, who I used to have a season ticket with, lived with at uni, went to uni with, and known for a long time now. We've been all following Villa for a number of years together, so it's good to have you on, especially this time. What time is it there, mate?
4 o'clock? It's about 4 in the afternoon. Yeah. So I just caught the first half of the Palace, giving United a C and 2, and good to be on here. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, good to have you on. Yeah, Palace looking a bit strong, aren't they? Considering we've got the last game of the season, but we'll come on to the run in this week. We're going to be talking. As usual, look at the previous game, Brighton game, dissect that as much as we can via hero and villain of the week. Bit of vital statistics, looking at not really in detail the Olympiacos and Liverpool game, but more looking generally in terms of the run-in and the number of games that we're playing and how it's affecting the squad and what we can do over these last couple of weeks. The phrase limping over the line has been used quite a lot by plenty of people, and that's very much what we're going to be focusing on this week. And then Mr. Cleary is going to do the Villa Vault this week as well. So it's good to have you back in your regular slot, mate. That's very much you, that is.
Yep. Good stuff, mate. I've got a good one.
Good. Excellent. Alec, I think you're going to do hero and villain of the week this week, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm looking forward. I have a question, Holmes, because I've got quite a few, being a positive man I am, I've got quite a few heroes on my list here.
Oh, so... mate, we'll rattle through, mate. You can. This pod is... we don't cut it short. We will go as long as we need, mate. Don't worry about that. But yeah, shall we push on? I'll start off. We'll do the news stories of the week. So here's from the stands of Villa Park. That's still pretty loud, isn't it? I hurt my ears. I need to adjust that. I forgot how loud that was. Not much to report this week in terms of news stories. The main one is a couple of transfer links. Hermoso, who've been linked with, I think most of the season really, from Atletico Madrid. He's decided not to renew his contract at Atletico Madrid, and he's been heavily linked with Villa by some reliable sources in Spain. Whether it comes to pass or not, it's an interesting rumor, isn't it, Sam? Hermoso, left-footed centre back and play left back as well. Obviously, quite an important part of that Atletico Madrid defence over the years. What would you make of that rumor?
Yeah, I mean, it's more the caliber of player that excites me. If you can pick up somebody from a club like Atletico, who's obviously been at the heart of everything they've done defensively, and let's not forget they're a hell of a defensive outfit. 28 years old on a free. It's absolutely unbelievable business if we can get it done. I mean, it does seem to be a position we're pretty well stocked in, but I just think if we're picking up players on frees from Atletico that they want to keep in their prime, internationals, I mean, that's a model that I think will take us far. I'm overall happy to see that link. I think we're all looking for a really exciting forward, Nico Williams, someone of that kind of caliber would be nice, but reinforcements of that quality to come in on without a fee, I think it's good news all around, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Alec, we've done well in the free market, haven't we? In terms of looking at Bosman signings, you look at Kamara, as one example. Tillemans is another. There's plenty of there seems to be plenty more Bosman signings out there these days of quality. Some of the Juventus, for example, have done really well over the years signing. Do you think? I mean, do you think that signals the end of Lenglet if he does come in terms of going back? And obviously he's on loan at the moment.
Yeah, I think I'd go with Sam on what he said about if we can pick up some free transfers that are at top European sides, then it's only going to be beneficial to us, especially if we can cover up a couple of positions as well. They've got an element of being utility about them. Lenglet, I'm still not convinced. I think I appreciate it's difficult, probably comes in now and then, he's not regular, but I think if you are going to have people come in, they've got to be where we're heading. We're building and we're only progressing more and more. We've got to have maybe a little bit better in a way of caliber, yeah, for sure. So I think he'll be between him and Monchi. I think they'll have some eyes on some decent additions, won't they?
Yeah, I think so. I think it'll be an interesting summer. I think a lot of it depends on what happens obviously in the next couple of weeks. Tombo Jones at Villa Talks podcast comes back when I go to shit. We did say this might happen, didn't we? The first podcast back.
It was always a risk. It was a real risk.
There was a real risk of that, but we did it anyway. But yeah, I think Champions League football, it's a different outlook, isn't it, in terms of who we can keep, importantly, but also who we can sign. If not Europa, there's still still a great season, and we'll come on to obviously the run in and what it looks like and how confident we all are. In these next couple of games as well. I've got a feeling I know what both of you are going to say at a time anyway on that. But that's it really in terms of from the stands of Villa Park. There's a few other links, but we'll go through them when it becomes a bit more concrete. I've seen some stuff today, more on social media that Martinez expects to be back on Thursday for Olympiacos, and we'll talk about the Olympiacos game later on. I was hoping he'd be back for Brighton, but obviously he wasn't. And then I saw a fan post a picture with Tillemans saying that he hopes to be back on Thursday as well. I mean, how accurate that is and what that actually means, well, I guess we'll see. But it'd be nice to have them both back. Well, let's look back at the Brighton game on Sunday. Obviously, disappointing result, disappointing performance as well. Not something we're used to in terms of the number of chances and how we played in that game. As ever, we're going to do it via Hero and Villain of the Week. So, Alec, I think it's your turn. So here we go. Hero and Villain. Over to you, buddy.
So, well, Holmes, my list of heroes is quite long here. But in terms of the game, firstly on the pitch, I thought Olsen kept us in it, really, from what I saw. I was working on the day, and so couldn't watch every minute of the game, but did cover quite a bit of it. And I thought Olsen, despite having a tough game against Olympiacos, I thought he did really well to keep us kind of in the game, and maybe we could snatch something. If we didn't get the draw, maybe there's a chance we could get them on the break. But a couple of massive saves that kept us in it. So I'd say Olsen was a hero in the Brighton game. Off the pitch, I've got a couple of heroes as well, and I've got to mention our old friend Gabby. I saw Gabby in some champagne bottles to celebrate the Blues going down. So it would be wrong if we didn't mention that. I'm a big listener to Talk Sport as well, so props to Gabby for that one.
Yeah, that was brilliant. I thought, yeah. Well, I suppose we've done well to go 9 minutes without talking about Blues.
I think he'll let's just say he's in for quite a bit of stick with that one, but good on him. I think another nomination I had was Ange Postecoglou, just slightly away from Villa for just putting together an absolutely awful tactical display over the last few matches, and more holes than a block of cartoon cheese I wrote down here. So thanks, Ange.
Oh wow, you're writing notes, Alec. That's good. That's more than what we normally do. That's some prep, that is, mate. Some notes.
He's lost his head, hasn't he? That's the thing. I think. Did you see that brilliant clip where he's going, "You pass it forward, you pass it forward, you pass it forward." It's just like, what is he doing?
Yeah,
absolutely
he's not happy, is it?
I don't want to take it too far away from Villa, but there was actually, as always, I'm sure he's had a lot of nominations on this podcast, but Unai, I watched the post-match interview after the Brighton game where he actually stopped the reporter and refused to talk about anything negative and completely backed the players. I thought that was top draw by Unai because the players had a long season, they're shattered, yeah, we're all probably a little bit disappointed by the way results have gone the last few games, but he's standing by them, whatever, because the progress they've made and what they're doing is, and they're probably out on their feet most games now. So top man Unai, hero as always.
Yeah, I mean, Sam, hard to pick out any real heroes apart from Olsen, as Alex said, from the game against Brighton. I was dreading going into that game with Olsen in goal. I'll be honest. I think I tweeted something like when he had 3 or 4 goals, but he was definitely our best player and our man of the match, wasn't he?
Yeah, definitely. And, I think that Robin Olsen's biggest crime is not being Emi Martinez, who's the best keeper in the world. And I think you coming in as his number 2, as his understudy, is just always going to be a tough wicket for anyone. I really think, I don't know whether you agree with this, but I think you can trace back the Olsen renaissance to the world's number 2 chant. It just seems to have given him a lift. Like he actually felt. I think the Villa fans with that chant showed they were really behind him, and I think he's really stepped up to the plate since then. And he's been good. I don't know. Do you think that he ought to have saved the deflected goal? I think they're always hard. They're always tough. Those. Would Emi have saved it? We don't know. It was a pretty wicked deflection, but he's been excellent. And he saved us against Chelsea. Made some excellent saves on Sunday. He's a perfectly competent understudy to Martinez. You see a lot of noise on social media, get rid of him. Oh no, Olsen's in net. Come on. He's a good keeper. He's a Premier League quality keeper as far as I can see, ever since the world's number 2 chant started. He seems to me like he's absolutely a Premier League standard. I would be not against keeping him if he's happy enough playing, not that many games, but being understudy to Martinez. Great, keep him, I say. And fair play to him for stepping up when he has.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it? I mean, I've been critical of him, of Olsen, and there's an element of what you say that is right in terms of not being Martinez, and obviously it's a big step down. It's hard to be as good as Martinez. He's one of the best, if not the best, in the world at what he does. I do think if the Olympiacos game, I think if Martinez is in goal, it probably finishes 2-2. It's just one of those things. It's difficult. It's not his fault, but it's just the way Martinez is. He probably saves that deflected shot, and he probably saves that second goal as well, just because of the way he is. How good he is all at once. That's no slight in Olsen. It's just more how good old Martinez is, and it's very difficult, as we know with Watkins and bringing another striker in. It's very difficult when you've got a number 1 like that, or the first pick, and in a position where you only play one player, to then have a backup who is not going to play as many games, but is just as good. It just doesn't very often happen. You look at Harry Kane at Tottenham, etc. It's very difficult to do that. But we are where we are with injuries, and hopefully Martinez is back because we need him in that away leg. As good as Olsen has been, Martinez is a different level, especially if we could somehow manage to get it to penalties. It'll be a different story. But I mean, rest of the pitch, Alec, apart from Olsen, was pretty dire, wasn't it? I mean, Morgan Rogers looked pretty lively at the beginning, and there was that penalty shout. I don't know what you thought about it.
I heard you fellas mentioned it last week with Rogers, and look, we've got to hand it to him how quickly he's adapted, considering he's just jumped into our team from the Championship, and he probably wasn't going to play many games if Ramsey had stayed fit and whatnot. But so I don't want to get on Rogers back, but I think Diaby's one is a little bit frustrating. Glimpses of he looked absolutely brilliant, assists, goals, and then he's just shoved off the ball so easy at other times as well. So again, it's his first season, so I think next season will be really interesting to see what a player Diaby can develop into, and maybe just a bit more physicality we need from Diaby, even though that's probably not the main part of his game. But yeah, it was.
It show you, Alec, doesn't it, in terms of how important physicality is. Look at Rogers just come in, who's obviously got ability, but he's come from the Championship. Diaby, who's been there and done it in terms of in Germany, has played at the highest level, played for France, has got great numbers, and has got great numbers this year as well for Villa in terms, not great, but pretty good. But Rogers, that extra level of physicality in the Premier League is so important, isn't it, in terms of those attacking positions and what you're able to do, especially when you come up against Premier League midfielders and defenders who, with that physicality, they can use to their advantage.
Yeah, for sure. I think Rogers is such an exciting prospect for next season. And I think once Emery has some time with him and he has a whole pre-season with him, I think he's going to be absolutely fantastic this year. Got all nothing but positive things to say about Rodgers. I think even though obviously he's a bit caught out of position at times off the ball, he's had a few moments where he's not quite on it. But I think considering he's been called in with our injury, we really do have an injury crisis, but we're just making do and still been delivering up until recently, I suppose. So
yeah.
And I thought what we're doing, letting go of Philogene, who's tearing it up in the Championship, and then we're buying this lad from Middlesbrough who's not tearing it up in the Championship. He's got all right numbers, but we played against Middlesbrough in the Cup and he didn't look that great. I just thought we've dropped one here. This is a shocking exchange. What we're doing. And it just shows how little I know about it and why we should trust the recruitment at the club, because he looks like an absolute monster. He's got a goal in him. He can create something out of nothing. He runs he runs all day. He's really hard to knock off the ball, so he can hold it up. Yeah, a real find for £8 million. I just think it's brilliant business. And, £8 million for Rodgers, nothing for Hermoso. I mean, I'm never, ever stepping out of line and criticising the recruitment at the club again, I think, because I just keep getting embarrassed every time I try and do it. So, fair play.
It's hard to question them, isn't it, at this point in time? But, I mean, another injury as well, potentially.
Yeah.
Rodgers, potentially hamstring injury. If it's any sort of a pull or a strain, then it's likely to put him out for at least a couple of weeks. So probably a season ender, unfortunately. Hope it's not, because obviously he's been our in-form player these last few weeks. Before that, there was a penalty shout in the beginning of the game. Sam, I don't know if you saw it, but it looked like nothing. But then you see their penalty that's been given. I mean, do you think? I mean, they're both pretty soft hands.
I think they're both quite soft. I think ours was probably a little bit softer, a bit unlucky really, because it was a badly timed tackle, but I think there's just not quite enough there to give a penalty. But he was doing the right thing in terms of nipping him in front of him and potentially getting on the ball. There wasn't that much positivity to talk about in the match, but I think what summed it up for me was that there's one moment when the ball goes to Watkins in the inside left channel. It's a beautiful take. He takes on the player, I'm not sure if it was
Dunk. I think it was Dunk. Yeah.
He takes Dunk on, and you think, open up your body and hit it into the far post. Worst case, keeper parries it and it's a tap in, and he just sort of checks back inside as though he wants to play a pass. And I'm just thinking, Ollie, early in the season, he's taking that on. Do
you think that 20 goal season target is playing on his mind a little bit?
Playing on his mind? I do wonder that. because it's been a while. He's had a few games now. And I hope it isn't, because whatever number he gets to, he's had a phenomenal season. He deserves his place on the plane to Germany, and he's absolutely fantastic. But I do wonder whether it's a bit of a kind of a bit of a weight around his neck. But I just thought that really summed it up, because you just think, yes, you're in, Ollie, you're in. What are you doing? You check him back, have a shot, and I thought that was one of our brightest moments actually. Which
that's how bad it was, wasn't it? Yeah.
I think going back to that, sorry boys, I was just going to say, I think that 20 goal target is massive for him in some ways. I just think the difference between finishing the season in the teens and on hitting that 20 mark, it's only a goal, but I think for him to do that for Villa would be huge, especially going into next year. So I think it is pretty important for him more than the fans probably. Just double, that 20 mark is just what you want to see your strikers hitting, isn't it?
Yeah, it's that elite level of striker, isn't it? That every striker wants to hit, isn't it? So I agree with you. I said it a couple of pods again. I think is there a curse? And I was dismissed. And I don't think there's a curse, obviously, but I do think it's a bit of a weight, and it is playing on his mind. You saw him after the Bournemouth game when he played so well and didn't score. It'd have been great if he'd managed to get it then, because I think he would have kicked on. But 2 games left, obviously, to do it. 2 difficult games as well. Villain of the week, Alec, who are your nominations?
I've got a few here. I hate to get on the back of a Villa player, but I'm just wondering how much Alicia Lehmann's making Dougie do around the house a minute, because he looks flogged, doesn't he? So perhaps he needs to do the dishes a bit less, or a bit less housework, or I don't know what. But yeah, maybe few photos less he's taking for the missus on Insta, but. Yeah, poor Dougie needs a good rest, doesn't he? Because we know what he can do, but he's just not quite at it at the minute. Well, quite far off what he can do. So I think Alicia's up there. Sorry, Alicia.
I said
Sorry,
that the other week, and Carl accused me of misogyny. I was like, it's just a joke.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I did hear that, but yeah, this isn't misogynistic. I think this is just Dougie just needs a fresh lease of life at the minute, doesn't he? But probably the games he's played and the level he's played at it's hard to keep that up for a whole season, isn't it? Europe, domestic cups, Premier League. So the other villain was.
We'll come back to that actually. No, go carry on. I'll come back to that Dougie point in a second as well.
I think the other villain was I heard a piece on the Sunday edition with Sean Custis and Henry Winter.
Oh, I've got it lined up. Do you want me to put it on?
Let's hear it. Yeah.
Let's hear it. Let's see if this. Hopefully this works. But let's have a look.
For not doing anything on Aston Villa, and then I do stuff on Aston Villa, and people aren't satisfied. That's a crushing blow that was in the Conference League semi-final during the week. They're away to Brighton today.
It is, but from a domestic perspective, can you make a case for Unai Emery as Manager of the Year?
No,
you can't.
No, I can't. No.
Why? In terms of what he's done, getting into the Champions League.
Yeah,
I would have him in the top three managers.
You like your winners to have a trophy, Henry. So you're just contradicting yourself.
And that's why I would have Arteta or Pep Guardiola will win it.
Will win it, exactly. Just reminding you
that... I would say a pair of plonkers.
I hate Sean Custis. It's terrible.
Look, we'll know. I think we don't mind going under the radar. That's fine, but the lack of recognition, I think, at times Unai's got for what he's done to threat their squad at times. Like no one really mentions we've got over half a team out, really, do they? When it comes to the pundits and the journos, sports journos, what Unai Emery's done with this squad and the injuries, I don't think many other managers could do it. Really, I really don't.
I agree. What gets missed as well is, I mean, there was the first time I saw it actually was the Sky Sports graphic. I think it was today or yesterday, where they showed 8 players that have been missing, a lot of the season, and at least 6 or 7 of them are straight in the first 11. I think that point gets missed because a lot of other teams talk about injuries, but they're talking about squad players like Ryan Sessegnon and at Tottenham, who's never going to get a game anyway. 6 or 7 of our first team players, our first 11, our best players have been missing for a lot of the season.
Completely.
I mean, what gets me about it is, what was it Custis said? Oh, well, no, he's not in the conversation because you've got to go with a winner, haven't you? What's the point in the Manager of the Year award if it's just going to the person who wins the league? Like, you don't even have to have a discussion, do you? Just give it to the league winner. Like, how unimaginative is that? It's about managing the resources that you've got at your disposal. And given the lack of resources that Unai's had because of injuries and suspensions at various times, and because let's not forget, we're in the Championship 5 years ago, so we're building up from that, and we're on the verge of getting into the Champions League. It's absolutely incredible what he's done since he's taken over from Gerrard, and to just dismiss that with a kind of blithe, well, he hasn't won the league, has he? Like, piss off, Custis. What are you doing? You're stealing a living, mate. It's embarrassing.
I hate him. I absolutely hate him. I couldn't believe I heard that. I mean, it's just, like I said, just dismissing from where we've come from as well. The fact that we were 17th in the league. We haven't really had a massive overhaul of players at all, really. We've spent money, but no more than anyone else. And to come from that position and with largely the same kind of players, plus the injuries as we've all talked about, and and also the way Unai carries himself, never makes excuses, as you say, Mr. Positive in that interview as well. So, yeah, I mean, it just sums him up, doesn't it? I mean, I fully expect. I mean, obviously, Ollie's tailed off a little bit, but if he was still scoring goals, I fully expected him to be dismissed as terms of player of the season as well. Just because, these journalists, I think these days, fan media, not all fan media, but a lot of fan media, but just general punditry that you see on even on X, from people who have just got really good accounts, they're good following, some of the stuff that they come out with. I think, Sam, you've made this point before, is far and above beyond what these pundits do in terms of their analysis and their, these guys, Henry Winter and Sean Cust, they don't watch. They'll watch the game against Man United today, Crystal Palace Man United. They'll probably watch the Liverpool Tottenham game. And that's about it. And they'll make all their adjudications based on that. Unfortunately, it's
very poor. It really is.
Yeah. Any other shouts, Alex?
So, for villains, any other shouts? Yeah. No, I don't think I'm. I think just the two villain shouts. I think
I'm gonna go for the referee just because I thought I didn't think either of them were pens, Conzers or Rogers, but I think if you give one, you've got to give the other. And I think maybe Roy Keane said, "Oh well, it was early in the game." I didn't know there was there was a time limit on penalties. I thought you have to be half an hour into the game before you can give a penalty. It's a bit like if someone gets an early yellow card, it's a bit early. The referee's done well not to book him. Then ruins the flow of the game. It's a yellow card. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
These games are so important nowadays in terms of the money and what it just it's not. I just think it's just poor. I think it's just cliche, isn't it, to say that? But anyway, I'd go for the referee as the only other shout, I think.
And the referee gets even worse.
Yeah, I would say about the penalty, I think if that penalty Brighton got, I think if we'd had that on us, I think I wouldn't be arguing. I thought Conser just got the wrong side of him and gave him the opportunity. So I don't think we could have too many complaints about that one. Adingra just got the edge on him, he ribbon. And gave him
no, they deserved it, really. Let's be honest. We were shocking, weren't we? Apart from, as you said,
Sorry, just Brighton's record going into that game, and you think we lost the game, but they were on a real howling run, weren't they?
I had a feeling though when it's like that, when it's teams like that, a bit like Crystal Palace in the reverse sense that they've been playing so well up until now. It's very difficult for a team like Crystal Palace or Brighton to continue either really, really bad form or really, really good form for a long period of time, because chances are, and the averages say, that eventually there'll be a bit of up and down in there, because otherwise they're going to, either get relegated like Brighton and lose every game, or, Crystal Palace top four. It doesn't very often happen. You'll get new manager bounces we talked about, but you also get patches of form where it's either really good or really bad, and then something changes, a player comes back or a player is suspended, and then things change. So, yeah, I was expecting them to, especially they're looking at their 11. I know they've got quite a few injuries, but it was still a pretty strong side. And without Martinez, without Tielemans, I was worried about us. And that, I don't know about you guys. I don't know what you think, but that McGinn and Luiz midfield is just far too open and not really clicking at all.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I love watching McGinn. And when he gets the ball in that sixth position, he's capable of turning really well and putting us on the attack, but we just don't break up the play the way we do when Kamara's in. So he's doing some nice stuff on the ball, and you're thinking, oh, McGinn's having a good game, but actually they're just able to just walk through at times. And I don't know whether that's kind of Kamara's spatial awareness, or just that he's got he can snuff out attacks a bit better. He picks the pocket of the tens a bit more. But certainly the difference is unbelievable. And we're going to have to be really careful against Palace if we go in into that game with roughly the same team. Palace are 4-0 up, by the way. I don't know if you're following that.
Oh no, I've not seen that. No, wow,
4-0. So I agree with you, Omar. It is a worry. I think we need a bit more steel in there. And we talked on the WhatsApp group about Dendoncker, and was it right to let him go? And obviously Tim isn't trusted. Even though his cameos haven't been so bad, but the drop off from Luiz to Tim in theory is massive, but not when Luiz isn't quite doing it and isn't quite at the races. But I think it just shows the choices that we've got to make, that Unai's got to make, are not great ones. And so if we can get this over the line, then it's going to be a real top achievement.
Yeah, I mean, Alec, that was the point I was going to make. One that was. So in jest, we're talking about Alicia Lehmann, but Kamara really is, since he's been out of the team, I don't think we've seen the same Dougie Luiz, have we? Or the same midfield, really.
No.
Yeah, it does seem he's best in there with Luiz, isn't he? And he's, like you say, just able to snuff out anything, and just breaks it up, gives it easy, and we're definitely missing that at the moment. I don't know if McGinn and Luiz are a bit too similar at times, and you just. Yeah, I don't know. There's definitely something missing with them, or if one off form and the other one, you just can't have them both not quite at it. They don't seem to be delivering, do they? But McGinn's having, McGinn's flashes, isn't it? When he picks it up in his own half, he's shrugging off a couple of players, but he's not. He's You got to have him again. Moved around a lot though, hasn't he? As well, we play him anywhere in that midfield really. So, but I do think we need someone. Despite having Kamara back next season, I do think we still need. We might need a world-class operator in there going into next year if we're going to be, give it a bit of a go in the group stages.
Yeah, I agree. I think that is.
I don't want to count the chickens too much.
Yeah. No, well, it's a good segue because we're going to talk about the next week or so in a second. But I do agree. I think that is the position that we really need to cover because we don't have a player like Kamara. Let's be honest. And obviously, the fact he brought Matty Cash on instead of Timmy or Budimir Begin, I think he shows what he thinks of him. So, but let's move on to vital statistics and talk about Villa in general and the upcoming game.
Vital statistics, ladies! Vital statistics. Our last day. Vital statistics. What will the stats say?
Yeah, I mean, just before we start, we've obviously got Olympiacos coming up on Thursday. I'll be travelling down on Thursday. Yeah, it is down. Yeah, isn't it?
Fair play to you, mate.
Yeah. So I'm going with Villa on this thing they've got. This charter flight that they've organised, which is supposed to be pretty good because I just don't have the annual leave, so it means I can get there, watch the match, come back, and not worry about transfers and things like that. So looking forward to that, and obviously a big deficit to overturn, and then obviously the Liverpool game on Monday. But just before we talk about that, I just wanted to share this stat from ABFC Stato. Which we do quite often here. Moussa Diaby, Ollie Watkins, Leon Bailey, John McGinn and Douglas Luiz have all played 50-plus games this season for Aston Villa in all competitions. Ezri Konsa, Douglas Luiz, Ollie Watkins, John McGinn have all played 4,000-plus minutes of football this season in all competitions for Villa. And I think I saw a stat around saying that we've got the most number of players. I think it was 8 players that have played 50-plus games this season. And I think we saw that against Brighton. Now, going into these last few games, I was saying this a couple of weeks ago before the Arsenal game, thinking that, we were limping over the line and I thought we were struggling and it was just, we'd have to just try and get points as best we can. And then we put in that performance against Arsenal, which I didn't expect. I don't think anyone did. Looking at the Olympiacos game, Alec, first off, can we do it? Can we overturn that 2-goal deficit? How important is it that we get Martinez, Tielemans, Zaniolo back in that? And if they are back, how much of a difference can they make?
Yeah, I think we can do it 100%. Big up. But if we've got Emi in goal, I think we've got a better chance again. Can we get Yuri back in there? I'd like to think we can, but was it a groin injury Yuri had? It looked to be some sort of groin strain. That's my worry. If he can go in and get straight back on it going into the game. I think early goal, and I think the players will be looking at each other saying, we've got a real chance here. And this is it. And I think however flogged these players are at the minute, and they've had long seasons and racked up some unbelievable minutes, I think it's doable. I really do. And I think with Unai driving them, I think there's always a chance. And yeah, early goal, couple of goals, and when we're straight back in it. And I wish you all the best going out there, Holmes. I wish I was there as well. I wish I was going to that. That'd be a hell of a night. The atmosphere, the sound.
Yeah, definitely. I was, straight after the match last week, I was in my head thinking, is there any point going type thing? Just because I was so down after. And it was a shock. It was a shock really too. Lose 4-2. Let's be honest. We all thought we were going to win that game. But then obviously give it a few hours and a good night's sleep, and then suddenly you're thinking, especially Chadsy, who's obviously a regular on the pod. He's always in my ear. Again, he's like you, Alec, Mr. Positive. He was like, I'm more buzzing than I was if we'd won the game. He said to me, just because he's so confident that we can do it.
It'll be the history if we can turn it around.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. And there's nothing like a good European, comeback is a story that hopefully we can do it. Sam, how do you feel about the game? And if you were Unai, how would you approach it? I've seen a few people say, well, we should just focus on top 4 in the Liverpool game and just sort of forget about this one. But it's a semi-final at the end of the day, isn't it?
It is, and I've got my hotel and flights booked for the final, so I'm pretty desperate for us to get this sorted. Yeah, look, I mean, they are not a great side. They absolutely everything that could have gone their way went their way at Villa Park. Refereeing decisions, ricochets, bits of luck here and there. It all went their way. It's not all going to go their way in the home leg. And also, if anything, if it's written, then, that Martinez comes in, we win 2-0 and he makes the saves in the penalty shootout again. I mean, that would just be, very fitting, I think, given the
I could take it. I don't think I could take it. I think my heart could take it.
But given the contribution that he's made to the club, the fact that he's already got us through one, it would just be really fitting, I think. But look, how do we approach it? Well, I think that we've got to throw caution to the wind to an extent. I think, like you say, an early goal and us with the momentum and the initiative is the way that I think everybody who's supporting Villa would see us being able to wrestle back control of the tie. So, I'd start Diaby and Bailey and Watkins as a front three, and I'd just and I wouldn't be playing KG, and we've got to try and get an early goal. If Tielemans can play, then you could play him a bit more advanced. But if not, then I'd go with that as a front three. You've got to play Powell. I think you have to play Powell. I mean, as much as I think Longley at times has deputised quite well, maybe it was a bit of a mistake not getting Powell on earlier in the semi-final at home. I think that the other thing to do is get Duran on after an hour if we are still 2 goals behind. Just because
would you start? Would you start Duran?
I think, is there a case? I don't know how you accommodate him into the shape with Watkins. Watkins has to start, right? I don't think that Unai has ever really gone with a 2. But certainly, I mean, I think if we've got half an hour to go and we need 2 goals, you just throw caution to the wind, you leave Bailey on, you get Duran on there, and you just start going a bit more direct, probably. Because Duran's a big, bustling guy. He makes things happen. He's an absolute nuisance. There will come a time in the tie. It's not beyond the realms of possibility that there comes a time in the game when we need that. And there's no better man actually than him, because he's a complete nuisance, and we saw in the Lille game that he can come on and make something happen. And then probably get a red, but that's fine as long as we get to the final. I don't care, by hook or by crook. Yeah.
Your thoughts, Alec?
Yeah, I think the Duran debate is an interesting one. Whether it would be unlike Emery to chuck him in there to start, but part of me wouldn't mind seeing it, to be totally honest. Even if he was right up top being a menace and Ollie just kind of slightly deeper, which would be very unusual for us to do. But I think we need a handful up front, and we need someone. I just like the way when Duran does come on, the first thing he wants to do is rattle off a shot. And I think in a game like this, it's exactly what we need. And he's so eager just to hit it. I think like Sam said, I think the predictable thing, what we're looking at, will be the RB starts. I think I would almost like us to see Duran on at half time if we're not kind of clawing any go back. Just chuck him on and throw a bit of caution to the wind. So,
I think it's a good shout. I think Duran. We saw it against West Ham, didn't we? Duran and Watkins experiment didn't really work, but they didn't really play as a 2. I didn't think, but I think Duran is an impact player. Definitely, he's a player when there's tired legs on the pitch, he can make a difference. Whether he's good as he is from the start of the game, I'm not sure. But it's a difficult one, is it? Because if Zaniolo's back, then that's great. Tielemans is back, then that's great. But if neither of them are back and Rodgers is out as well, then it's a case of, do you play Moreno or Cash out wide? Because I don't know who else you play, because you're going to have likelihood is going to have Cash, Konza, Pau, and Lucadine or Moreno back 4. I don't think he goes with Konza and Carlos, especially if he's trying to score goals. And then it's McGinn and Luiz, and then it's Diaby, Bailey, and then Watkins, and who else? Or Moreno on the left, or Cash on the right, and then Konza right back. I don't see him play Kellyman. I don't see him playing Kane, Kessler, Hayden. I don't see him playing Tim. So there's no real options, is there? I don't know who you play. You got to hope one of Zaniolo, Tielemans, or Rodgers is back, because then that gives you a bit of an option. Because then you can play McGinn wide as well, which is another option. And then play Tielemans and Luiz in midfield, or play Zaniolo wide as well as another option. So I think a lot of it predicated on injuries, and if we're missing those players, then yeah, it's going to be a real tough ask. And then obviously Liverpool game coming up as well on Monday. A bit of a break, nice 4-day break, which is not something that we're not used to, because Thursday, Sundays have been the norm for us. Your thoughts on the top 4 race, Sam? Obviously Spurs lost again against Liverpool, although there was a mini comeback in there as well.
Yeah, they've got Spurs got some good attacking players, and I thought that they were always. I always fancied them to get a goal at Anfield, but in the end, you can't concede 4 and expect to get much out of the game. Carl's not here to say he did call it. He called it a couple of weeks ago. He said Spurs were done, and since then they've not shown us anything to suggest that they've got a win against the top side in them. And you've just got to think City go there needing the points and turn them over at the Tottenham Stadium. So I think that will happen, and I think that we're, irrespective of what happens for us on Monday night, I think we're there. I think we'll do it. Monday night's going to be a tough game. I'm actually driving up and back from Kent on the night, so it'll be a late one for me. But last home game of the season, if we can get something, if we can get the point that absolutely confirms it, I mean, the place is going to go absolutely nuts, and it will be, exactly what the players deserve, because they've given us some unbelievable memories, home and away, but certainly at Villa Park this year, there've been some really good nights. So yeah, I hope that we can get something on Monday. We'll be up against it. In terms of our players, in terms of the fact that Liverpool have just scored 4, Salah's perhaps coming back into a bit of form. I don't think they've got any chance of the league, but you wouldn't think that if you read Liverpool Twitter. And yeah, I think I'd love to think we can get something, but I don't think we're going to need to. I think Spurs are going to lose to City, and that will be the end of that. And I feel a bit sorry for Big Ange in a way, because he's getting some stick now. They're starting to say Ange out on
I saw that
Spurs Twitter, and it's like, well, he's totally changing the way they play, and you either say let him finish the project, or what was the point in hiring him? I don't know, but I don't care about that really. I just want us to get in the Champions League. I want us to play Barca or Real Madrid next year, when Blues are playing, Forest Green or someone. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, I'm the same. It'd be nice in the Champions League anthem at the Villa Park ground. I mean, Sam made a point there. I mean, it'd be nice if we can get the gives us Champions League rather than relying on Tottenham losing another game. Although we'll take it anyway we can get it, obviously, and I don't care what fans say. The fans might be saying, I've seen a bit of Arsenal fans saying that Emery's bottling it, but Spurs are bottling it even more. But it'd be nice if we can. It's going to be very difficult, obviously, to beat Liverpool, but it'd be nice if we can get that win, right, Alec?
Yeah, I think to get it over the line, kind of with us doing it, would be the icing on the cake to a great season, wouldn't it? But I listened to a bit of Ange recently, and you do feel like you're listening to a beaten man over there. I've heard him. He's even talking about his squad not buying into what he's doing, and you think a manager saying that about his own players, that's a big worry. And I think they've really pretty much thrown it away, but it would be nice for us to get I don't see us getting much against Liverpool with the way they just kind of stepped it up against Spurs the other day, but it'd be nice to at least get one win. Maybe draw against Liverpool would be ideal, and then maybe a little cheeky smash and grab 3 points against Palace, but it's
I don't think my heart could take it if we went to the last day. I'll be honest. It'd be nice. It'd be nice if it's done by then. We can enjoy the last of the season. I agree with Sam. I think I think we can get a point against Liverpool, definitely. And I think if it may be let's not write Burnley off. They've had, before the Newcastle game, they've had a pretty good form as well. They've drawn away to Chelsea, Man United, amongst others, and they've been unbeaten, I think, in 8 games or something like that.
They can stay up, right?
They can stay up. Yeah, but the way it works out is that if they beat Spurs, then they've got Forest last game of the season,
right?
And Forest, I think Forest got Chelsea. So it's not out of the realms of possibility.
Because when I saw these games in the distance, I felt Burnley would already be down by now, so it was a complete dead rubber Spurs walkover. I think this does add a little bit of jeopardy for Spurs, actually, which is good.
Yeah, which is good. Yeah, and I mean, it'd be great if for example, if Burnley even got a draw against. I know that wouldn't be good for them, but if they got a draw against Spurs and then we get a point against Liverpool, and that's enough. That I can see that happening. The likely scenario is that they beat Burnley and beat them comfortably, and Liverpool beat us, and it's that Man City game, as Sam talks about. That's going to be the important one. And Man City don't have a good record against them. Obviously, they won in the cup recently, but apart from that, I think they've struggled in the league. So it's not a certainty that they do that as well. But it's in our hands at the end of the day, and that's what we could have asked for. I think I saw a post the other day. If no one would swap our position for Spurs, would they? Let's be honest, 7 points adrift with having a game in hand, and with the goal difference as well, which could be overturned with Sheffield United on the horizon for Spurs. But we're definitely in a strong position, I think, and it's in our own hands. Most people would have at this stage of the season, beginning of the season, would have said, if we'd been in this position, even if we had, we were on the same number of points, but our goal difference was better. I think anyone would have taken that for top four. So the position we're in is amazing. It is very much we're limping over the line, but that's just the circumstances, and it's not an excuse, but it kind of is as well. It is in terms of, it's difficult. I think so. I don't think Unai's using it just because he wants the players to push on and he just wanted to get in their heads. But it's tough. Every time we play a game, someone gets injured. And the reason for that is because they're playing so many games, not getting the rest. Groin injuries, hamstring injuries. That's a sign of being overworked. So it's tough. I think I said it. I don't know. I wasn't being flippant, but I said on Twitter a couple of weeks ago. Anyone else sort of a bit drained by the season? I think it is very much that, because there's so much riding on this for the future of the club in terms of commercial revenue. Some of the players that we sign, whether we can move up a level in terms of how we position ourselves as a club. It does feel quite stressful in a different way. I mean, I'd much rather have this stress than the relegation stress, definitely. But I think the number of games that we played, the number of injuries that we had, all the different permutations of whether fifth would be enough for Champions League, watching bloody Dortmund and Atletico Madrid and cheering Atletico Madrid and that going by the side, or then worrying about Man United and then them struggling and never being in it, really, let's be honest, and they'll be lucky to finish seventh. And then now with the Spurs as well, it's a difficult one, isn't it?
It's the old cliche about cup finals, right? We've got Olympiacos is essentially our cup final. We've got Liverpool, then Palace could potentially. And the problem is that saying every game is like a cup final is psychologically a good idea because you want to get your players up for it. But there's a reason why everyone goes down with cramp at Wembley at the FA Cup final, and it's not that the pitch is bigger. That's a load of bollocks, right? It's because of how draining and how much they put into it. And I think that's part of the issue. The lads are absolutely fighting for everything, and unfortunately, like, the fans going through the ringer every time because it seems like so much is riding on every game. You think about the Brentford game, how low we were after that, because in our heads we're like, these are the 3 points we absolutely have to get. Obviously, it's turned out that wasn't the case at all. But we built it up in that fashion. We all looked at Brighton thinking, oh, they've got a few players out. This is the game that we can go and do it. It hasn't happened, but we're still there and we're still in a good position. And that's primarily because Spurs have picked nothing up. In our pessimistic kind of Villa fashion, we were probably thinking by now they'd have, from the last 3 or 4 games, got at least 3 or 4 points, but they haven't.
I think the fact that there's actually very little pressure coming from Spurs is probably not helping either, because we are tired. We know they're not really, right on our heels. There's a good cushion, so it's kind of making us. We're probably not quite at it for that as well. I think you probably find if they were right on our heels, we would have probably had a better performance against Brighton as well. So, but it's hard to be negative when they've given such a season for Villa, isn't it? When how far the club's come. I just wanted to mention as well is what Nassif and Wes have done for Villa. I mean, you're talking about a long-term project with long-term aims on and off the pitch, but yet we've got these short-term results that we almost take them for granted. The finish last season,
So true.
in the last year, to qualify for the Conference League, and now we're in this position. We always knew there was a chance this season we'd have a real year, but to be still up there now and being close to ceiling fourth place is pretty special, isn't it, as a Villa fan? After years of some
Nothing.
yeah.
Nothing. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's so true. I think it's really well put, Alec. I think it's I think that lack of pressure is a key point, but also the point you make about long term and short term goals and what we've done in such a short amount of time. I think it is very difficult. It's very difficult to then sort of take a step back and be like, wow, this is just this is where we've got to in such a short. I mean, look at us, how dejected we were when Steven Gerrard towards the end of his tenure. I was there criticising Perslow and everyone, and thinking about the what's happening at the background, and there's no real identity, and we've had all this money spent, and we've ended up without nowhere. And then with one hire, this all changed, and it can all change again. That's not to say they can all change again. It can go the other way, but we've got to enjoy it whilst we can. It's very difficult. I do feel drained. I'm sure all of you do as well, but we've got to enjoy it, and let's hope we can get over the line. I do. Going back to your point, Sam, I do wonder about this fans before the game and the cheering the bus in and all that kind of stuff. And Matty Cash said that it's a big boost for them, but I do wonder if it's had the opposite effect, just because so much is riding on these games as well. But maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm reading too much into it, and it's easy to say that, isn't it, when it doesn't work out. We beat Bournemouth with it, so and then we've drawn with Chelsea, so Olympiacos was obviously the outlier, so I guess we'll see. But
on that note, Ohms, I was just going to say, and to Sam as well, to both of you, do you think we're potentially pretty nervous that home leg, and we're going to actually be less nervous playing the second leg when we're kind of, in a way, it will probably be not written off, but less expectation? I think there's massive expectation on that first leg, and I think the Villa players probably nervy, tired. Maybe they felt the pressure of the expectation.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. I think having something to aim for rather than having to contain. A bit like what we did with Brighton, where it was obvious the way that we were playing, we were trying to sort of save our legs a little bit, which we've done in a number of games. Whereas now we have to score, we have to be on the attack, and we this is a given. And I think it can go one or two ways, right? You can either open yourself up for the transition, which Unai absolutely hates, and you can lose a couple of early goals and the tie's over, or it can go the other way and you score that goal early on, as you mentioned, Alec, and suddenly the whole tie changes.
Yeah, I think an early goal, and I think an early goal will rattle them psychologically a bit. They're not going to be, it's going to take them by surprise. And I think we still got a big chance, even though we're up against it. We've got a good chance. It's one of those nights where we could be talking about it years to come as Villa fans. Remember that night in Athens. So
let's hope so. Let's bloody hope so. Yeah, because otherwise my missus won't be happy. I don't know when he has spent going. We'll just lose again.
It'll be historic, Omar. Be historic.
Yeah. Should we do the Villa Vault, Sam?
Yeah, let's do it. I was actually going to go for.
Should we? Let's do the intro. Let's do it properly.
Okay, yeah. Go on. I've actually.
It took me a long time to come up with that, Alec. It took me a long time.
Yes, I like that. Great.
The game that I've selected, it's not from that distant past, but I think what it really does is just show how far we've come in such a short period of time, and it's just a reminder for us all to be, so grateful for Unai, and also, as you say, for the owners, because it's just unreal. Now we may lose on Monday night, who knows. And we lost this game, but the transformation in the club has been spectacular. So we're going back to 2019, just before the old pandemic. 2nd of November, all right. We played Liverpool 3:00 on a Saturday. Can you remember the score?
Oh, God.
Liverpool, 3:00 on a Saturday.
I know.
That's unheard of. Is this the first game back in the Premier League, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. God. Was it 2-1 to them?
It was, yeah. It was an incredible game, actually. I was there with my octogenarian Irish great uncle who absolutely loved the game, but he hated the ref. Anyway, we watched it, and I couldn't believe just how well we took the game to them, actually, for the first hour and a bit. They had a couple of chances, but given the state of our squad at the time, I thought we did all right. Villa Park was rocking, and it was like fantastic to be back in the big time again, playing against really, really. Were they European champions? Yeah, they were, weren't they? European champions.
I think they would have been, yeah.
So to be taking it to the European champions for an hour, we just got undone a bit at the end, which is a bit of a shame. But if we just go through the teams, all right. So who lined up in goal for Villa? Who do you reckon?
Heaton.
Heaton's in goal. Yeah. Back four.
Would have been back four. Elmo.
Nope.
Freddie.
Yeah.
Mings would have been in, obviously.
Mings.
Would Engels have been playing?
Engels. Who was playing left back?
Not Target. Are we talking pre?
Target. I bloody love Target under Dean.
Yeah,
Smith.
I did too. I'm glad you said that.
Such a shame that it was
shit,
Kevin Grealish at times. Kevin Grealish were unplayable.
For like 2 games, yeah.
No, he started off badly, and then he had a good, solid year and a half where he was excellent.
He scored a good goal against Brighton. Remember that?
Yeah. Target reminded me of. I just like that. I thought it was a bit of an Alan Wright. He never did anything magical, but like he was solid. And to head the way he did for a small guy, I got to say, Sam, I was a big Target fan as well.
Alec, you're a big everyone fan, mate. Any Villa player, you're a big Villa. That is you. Every player.
I thought he was going to become a club legend. I just got that completely wrong.
I'm joking. I didn't mind Target. I thought he was very good on the ball. He was quite technically very good. I just thought he was a bit weak.
Bit powder puff.
Bit powder puff. And we've had Sorry?
He's not really had a great time since he left us. I mean, is he?
No. He's been injured a lot. I think injured a lot for Newcastle, yeah, and the Newcastle fans hate him. So, yeah, Adama used to give nightmares, and that's all I remember from him. Yeah. Okay, that's 4.
Right.
And then
we had a midfield 3. Who was it?
Oh God, it's gonna be tough. Dougie.
Yep.
McGinn.
Yep.
Grealish.
No.
Wasn't Ghazi?
El Ghazi played. Yep. He was up front. He played.
Right.
Yeah.
Grealish played. Did Grealish play?
No, Grealish didn't play.
I was injured. It was one of his usual injuries, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah.
Okay, midfield 3 then. So we had Nakamba.
Yeah.
Trezeguet,
yeah, he scored.
Wesley,
Big Wes, yeah.
I don't remember Trezeguet's goal. What was it like? I remember
it was cut back. I think Target assisted it, cut it back, and it was one of classic at the back post Trezeguet kind of goal.
Were we winning 1-0 and lost 2-1?
Yeah, that's right.
Is that the game I'm thinking of?
Yeah.
And did Sané score from the last? Mane scored. No.
Yeah. Sadio Mane, 90 score, but Andy Robertson, 87.
Oh God, I remember that. Yeah, I do remember it.
So we got really close to getting.
I was watching it with my cousins on at my house. I remember this now, and we were watching it obviously on the stream because it's 3:00. And one of the youngest cousins, he was sort of like that, and I was like, "What happened? Did they score?" Because he was checking on his phone. I was like, "No."
Oh no. The worst.
I just knew it. I just knew it was going to happen. And then they left my house. They didn't celebrate. They were being good. And then I saw them in the car outside. And they were going like Del Boy and Rodney. They were like this, going crazy. The car was shaking. And I was like, so rattled.
Yeah.
I remember that game. Yeah.
Yeah, and it really does. Who do we bring on? Our bench. We brought on Elmo. We brought on Conor Hurahan. We brought on Kodja. late doors.
We're still there. God.
Yeah, poor old Conser couldn't get a game. He was on the bench. But yeah, I think it really does show how far we've come. You look at that side, and you know, even if we are down to the bare bones on Monday night, you know, and yes, they're going to be knackered, but you know, the squad is in a lot better shape than it was then, thanks to some fantastic signings, some of which came in under Smith. Obviously, Martinez and Watkins, two absolutely unreal signings under Smith. But since then, obviously, we've brought in a lot of quality. So, I think it's worth just keeping in mind that whatever happens this season, the club's in such better shape than it was then. And you know, as we've said, it's a great time to be a Villa fan, even though it doesn't really feel like it because it's so excruciating at times. You know, but there you go.
Nice one, Sam. Good one. Enjoy that. Yeah, that was good. Good one. That's a good reminder for Villa fans. And there's a few players there, you know, the likes of Mings, Louise, Konza, McGinn, who's still playing now, and obviously still a major part of Villa. Mings obviously injured, but still. So, no, good to see. And hopefully we can do the job these next two games. I'd certainly be wishing the boys luck on Thursday, and I'll be there singing my heart out as best I can, and hopefully come back with a win and a final. And then I've got to navigate a family holiday to try and get out of as well. Get to the final. This is my stupidity, booking a holiday that flies out on the 28th of May without remembering that there's a potential final there. And I'm the same as you, Sam. I haven't booked flights, but I have booked a hotel for Athens. So,
I was feeling very smug when we got past Lille, but I'm feeling less smug now.
I think we all were, weren't we? And then we got knocked back to down to earth. But Alec, what a debut, mate! Great to have you on. How do you feel? How do you feel it went? How do you feel it went?
Sorry, mate?
If you gave yourself a who scored rating out of 10, what would you give yourself?
I don't know, mate. I'll let the viewers decide that one. The listeners, sorry. Yeah.
Solid 7. Alan, the Alan Wright. I was gonna introduce you as the Timo Rugbunum of the Villa podcast world, just because the rotation, but I didn't.
Because I don't get many minutes.
Yeah. No, but I think you're the Alan Wright of the podcast. You know, solid 7 every time. So
no,
I'll take that,
really
mate.
enjoyed coming on.
Good to have you on. We'll try and get our mate Nick on if he can pull himself away from dad duty.
He's got to sort his priorities out, that fella. But hopefully,
I know. Yeah. To be fair, we normally win when he doesn't watch a game. So
yeah, exactly.
Maybe he's doing the right thing. But Sam, great to have you on as always. Good to have you back.
Cheers. Yep.
Thank you all for listening and watching on YouTube and whatever podcast platform you're on. Please do subscribe and like this video if you're on YouTube. And leave a comment, any questions we'll pick up in the next show, and we'll try and come back as regularly as possible, as I mentioned, and hopefully Villa do turn a corner, because it's very coincidentally with us coming back they tend to shit. So I don't want us to be blamed for us falling foul of that fourth place. But good to have the boys here, and good to chat Villa as always. Thank you for subscribing, watching, listening, etc. And apart from that, up the Villa.
Up the Villa, mate.
Up the Villa.
See you later.
Up the Villa.